Hello students, this is Ethan Howard and this is lab number 1, the long-awaited lab number 1. I apologize for the wait, but I finally got the ArcGIS software installed on my computer at home, so now I can record the labs at home and they'll be coming a lot faster from here on out. And so those of you who have not yet gotten the software to work on your computer, don't panic, we're still working the bugs out on that too. This lab you will not need to follow along. If you want to follow along, you can. If you do not have the software yet, the way that you get your points is pretty simple. This would be for anybody that's following along this lab who did not take the lab in class. In order to get your points for the lab, all you have to do is, over the course of the lab, I'm going to say the names of 3 states, U.S. states. I'll make it very obvious. And so all you have to do to get your points to prove to me that you watched the lab all the way through is, in an email, send it to me at ethan.howard@oit.edu and just say the 3 states that I mentioned during the lab and you'll get your full points. And then on Tuesday's lab, then you'll actually follow along and then you'll be submitting a screenshot or something like that to prove that you followed along during the video. But for those of you who are just following along or who are not in the lab on Tuesday, if you send me an email with the 3 states in it, you'll get your full points for the lab. And I'm not going to grade that until next Saturday, so you have plenty of time to do it. Okay, so here we're going to start. And first we have to go and grab some GIS data. So I put the data on Canvas, and so I'm going to show you how you go grab that. And so we're going to open up a Microsoft Edge. You can use a different browser, but if you use a different browser, the downloading process may look a little bit different, so as long as you know that, that's fine. So we're going to go to oit.edu and go to the Tech Web under Quick Links, and then I have to sign into my account here. And of course it's going to slow us way down here. Okay, so now that I'm logged in here, I can go to Canvas and then I put the data underneath modules. So first we have to go to Course, GIS103, and we'll go down to Modules. At the very bottom down here, you'll see a module that says Course Data, and then it says GIS103.zip. Now if this little arrow is not clicked, you'll have to click that to see it. And it's right here. So to download that, I just click it. And then I click Download GIS103.zip. And so up here, so down here in the lower left, you'll see here that it's downloaded. I can then click Open File. And so it put it, let's see, so it put it under my Documents folder. That's fine. I'm going to actually move it though to my desktop just so you guys can see it for the recording. So I'm going to copy it. You can keep it wherever you want in your computer as long as you can find it. And I'm going to go to Desktop and paste it there. Okay. And so now, if it comes down as a compressed folder, so if it has a zipper right here, you'll have to right click on it and go to Extract All and then tell it where to extract, and then that will make the folder look like this where you can actually open it up. Okay? And so that's how you get the data down from Canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize Canvas now. And now we're going to actually get into the software here. So there's two programs that we're going to be working with for the first half of the term here, and they're called ArcCatalog and ArcMap, and they're part of ArcGIS Desktop. After that, we're going to transfer into ArcGIS Pro, which is the newer program, but I want you guys to see this older program first because it's the one that all the agencies are still using and they're going to be using for the next few years. So if you're going to apply for an internship or something like that, you would want to still be able to use this software here. So we're going to open up ArcCatalog first. So we go to our Windows button and we search for ARCC, and there it is, and we will open it up. And so ArcCatalog basically just functions like File Explorer does, this one right here that we were working in, and but it's built for GIS data, so it can see GIS data properly where File Explorer cannot. And we're going to look at an example of that here. So first we have to make a connection to our C drive or wherever we put our data, because you look here under folder connections, there's nothing. So in order to make that connection, we go up here to this little folder that has the plus sign, and we just tell it to connect. So I'm going to connect to my desktop. Just click my desktop, tell it OK, and it'll add this connection to my desktop, and it'll show the folders that are there. And so I'm interested in this GIS103 folder. So if I open that, you'll see that inside there I've got a folder. Now yours may just have GIS103 data inside of it. If it does, create these folders next to it. So create a captures folder, a miscellaneous folder, an MXDs folder, and a PDFs folder. If it looks like this, then you're great. It just depends on which one I uploaded, and I can't remember. So if I ever tell you to do a screen capture, this is a folder you can save it in. If you ever have to download some data from online, you can put it in the miscellaneous folder. MXDs would be where we save any of our ArcMap documents, and PDFs would be where we save any Adobe PDF files. So we're going to look inside this GIS103 folder, data folder. You'll have two folders in there. One's empty, the GDBs, one's empty. And if we look inside the shapefiles one, it'll think a little bit here. It shows us that these are the actual GIS geospatial data sets. And I got these from the Forest Service. And so we have different things in here like a cutting unit boundary. This is for a timber sale, Forest Service ownership, Forest Service roads, lakes, major lakes, project boundary. This is an actual environmental analysis boundary that we did a few years ago. Ranger districts, rivers and streams, sections, and townships. And so these are actual files that the Forest Service uses. I clipped them down a little bit smaller so that they aren't quite as large when we copied them down. And so this to illustrate my point, you see we have 11 files here. But if we look at that same folder with using File Explorer over here, just going to copy and paste that path in here. Whoa! Now we have a lot more than 11 files in there. Same folder, exactly the same folder. So what's happening there is with shape, these are called shape files. When File Explorer looks at them, it sees them as multiple files. When ArcCatalog sees them, it sees them as one file. That's really important to understand, because what will happen is somebody will try to email you a shape file, and they'll grab, say they wanted to email you this cutting boundary shape file. They'll grab this one that says .shp on it using the attach function in the email and send that to you, and that won't work because that's only one part of that shape file. So in order to do it with the attachment, they'd have to send you all of these that say cutting unit boundary. And then when you looked at them with ArcCatalog, they would look like this one, cutting unit boundary.shp. So I understand that that might be a bit complicated, but we'll get into that in the next lecture too. So we just have to understand how the concept works right now. And so now we're going to actually open up ArcMap which is the super exciting program. And we do that two ways. We can either search for it the same way with the Windows button like we did for ArcCatalog, or ArcCatalog has a shortcut to it built in right up here. And so right here you'll see it says ArcMap. It's a little globe with the magnifying glass. If we open that, we click that, it'll then process for a little bit as it opens. So it's open now, and I just chose to open up a blank map document here. And so what's going on here is over here on the left side we have what's called the table of contents. And anything over here is going to, that's added over here, is going to display out here from a top-down view just like a map. And it draws, the table of content draws from bottom to top. That's really important to understand. So if I have an ownership layer underneath my roads layer over here, in the map I'll see the roads on top of the ownership layer, which is good. We want that. So we're going to add some data to this, and we're just going to play around a little bit with the data, and then the lab will be over. This is a fairly short lab. So I'm going to go to the Add Data button, which is right here underneath the selection. You could drag and drop data in from ArcCatalog also if you had dual monitors. So I'm going to go using the drop down here. I'm going to go to Folder Connections, and then my desktop. I'm going to GIS103, GIS103 Data, Shapefiles. Let's go ahead and add the ownership, the cutting unit boundaries, and the roads. Boom, there we go. So you'll see the green here is the ownership. The roads are the kind of the, I don't know what color you'd call that, a reddish purple color. And then we have cutting unit boundaries, which we cannot see right now. We're not zoomed in close enough. So we're going to zoom to those. So we right click. Let's drop our ownership first of all below our cutting unit boundaries. And then we're going to right click on the cutting unit boundaries. Zoom to layer. And there they are. They're the purple here. So this is a pretty nice example here. We have the purple polygons are the cutting unit boundaries, the greens the ownership, and the lines are the roads. So in order to change how these are symbolized, this is actually pretty fun. A fun part of GIS is you just click on the symbol over here in the table of contents. So say that I wanted to change my cutting unit boundaries. And let's say I wanted to make them something super fun like biohazard. I could just click that there and click OK. And there you go. If I wanted to change the ownership, actually it's a pretty good color. Kind of a little trick with ownership though is it's nice to drop the outline width. So if I go outline width, I can drop that down to 0, and that always looks better with ownership. We can't see that here with how we're zoomed in, but you would see it. And then let's just make our roads black. So we click on those and we just change the fill color to black. Now you'll see that there's all kinds of different symbols here that we could use for the roads. We're just going to keep it like that. So we're going to say OK. And now we're going to look at two different view concepts here. So the view that we're in right now is called data view. And then ArcMap also has what's called layout view. And so in data view, if I use the, it's called the standard toolbar right here, the one that has the magnifying glasses and the Mickey Mouse hand. If I use those to pan, you'll see that I just pan around and look at different areas of the map. If I use the magnifying glass or the zooms here, you'll see it just gets closer, zooms out, zooms back in. Okay? Now with layout view, that's what you would want to use if you're going to make a paper map or export it as a PDF. And so you'll see the way that I switch the views is down here in the lower left. There's two buttons, data view and layout view. So if I click layout view, now it's on a piece of paper. And then this toolbar here, the layout toolbar, is now active. It's no longer gray. You'll see that these buttons on this toolbar, they look the same as the ones on the standard toolbar at the start here, but they have pieces of paper behind them. And that's telling me that those are layout zooms and layout pan. And so what you'll see when I use those is it actually just moves the paper map around. It doesn't move the data on the map. It moves the data with the map. And so if I wanted to like add a north arrow and I wanted to zoom in and see better what I was looking at, I would use the layout zoom. And I zoom in closer to the map, but it doesn't change the actual scale of the map, you'll see. Okay? And so we can also then use this one here with the arrows pointing out to back all the way back out. Now say that you mess up. Now everybody does this. Everybody's done this multiple times. You wanted to pan using the layout pan, but you grabbed the wrong one. You grabbed this pan. You'll see now it messes your data up. See? So don't fear if you do that. All you have to do is hit the blue arrow here, and it'll take you back to your previous view. And I can get back to where I was. Okay? And this one here, this little one-to-one on the layout toolbar, or layout toolbar, shows you what the map would look like if printed, the exact size. So that right there is the size it would print, and that's really handy in case I want to see if my text was readable. It's not going to be readable for me, but somebody who actually has good eyes, I want to see if they could actually be able to read it on there. Okay. So our first state, I know that you're waiting for me to say a state's name. Our first state that you would have to write down is Alaska. So write down the state Alaska. We're going to do 3 of those. And then you can also change the view up here from data view to layout view. That's really handy. My dog's barking. Okay, so the next state that we're going to mention is Delaware. So we have Alaska and Delaware. Now we're going to just save our map, and so we go up to File, Save As, and then we're going to save it inside our GIS103 folder, and then our MXDs folder. So this is where we're going to save it. And then we're going to call it GIS103 underscore Lab1. And so I used the underscore because whenever you're saving something or creating a folder, you should never use, this is one of the 10 commandments of GIS, thou shalt never use spaces. And so you want to use an underscore here instead of a space. And that's just because later on that can really get you into trouble with how the software views different files. And so in this class it wouldn't actually mess you up, but it's a good practice and habit to get into. And so we do want you guys to do that. So use underscores instead of spaces. So we have GIS103 underscore Lab1. And so now the last state that you're going to send me is the state of Arizona. Okay, Arizona. So just put those 3 states in an email and send them to me, and you'll get your full points for viewing this lab. I realize this was a short lab. I can work through it pretty fast on my own. And then next week's lab will be a little bit longer, and hopefully we can get everybody having the software by then, and you guys can actually work through it using the software. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll get this uploaded as quickly as I can. Thank you guys.